Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the 10 common mistakes that impede the research and publication. Today, in the modern world, the research is very important and publication is an art that everybody must learn, because even when you leave the world, your footprints will be there as publication in the digital world. So with this, we'll go and discuss about 10 common mistakes that impede the research and publications. What is research? Research is like your thesis. It is nothing but fine-tuning of your thesis activity that you are doing during your postgraduate period. What are the 10 common mistakes that impede the research and publication? The important thing is failure to plan your research. Suppose if you are going to any place for a tour or for your official work, you will plan. So at what time you are going to start, at what time you are going to reach, where you are going to stay, and how you are going to return back. Like that. You have to plan your research. So in Tamil, I used to quote Tirukkural. எண்ணி துணிக கருமம் துணிந்தபின் எண்ணுவோம் என்பது இழுக்கு. So before doing your any work, you plan and act. So in planning, choose your topics. Define what you want to do in the particular topic. So what is your aim and what are all your objectives? These two things are important during your planning. So you have to act accordingly. Number 2 will be failure to execute your plan. Now you have planned. Now the execution. எப்பொருள் யார் யார் வாய் கேட்பினும் அப்பொருள் மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பதறிவு. What are all the key steps in execution? Identify your aim and objectives. Be clear in your methodology. Do the data collection. So these are all the 3 steps that is important in executing your research. How to arrive at your aim and objective? Collect and review articles. Take all the literature review on your selected topics. This will give an insight on where to focus in your study. Regarding the data collection is like your fixed deposit in your bank. It will take care of your future. Like that, this data collection will take care of your publications. So the research will progress in a better direction. So without proper data, your research will not progress and it will be impeded. Failure to stick to the conventional structure of the paper. Karka, kasadara, karpavai, katrapin, nirka, adarku taha. So everything will have a conventional, like how you are going to build your house. So rooms, kitchen, test room, like that. So the designing, the structure should not be altered. So that is very, very important. So what are all the structures? Any journal will have, manuscript will have an abstract, introduction, material and methods, result, discussion, conclusion, and citation. If the manuscript does not include any of these sections, it will be difficult for the reviewer to grasp the entire idea of your research, as all the subheadings are equally important. So the abstract must summarize the salient findings of your article. The introduction will say about the purpose of your study, the aim and objectives, and review of the previous studies in the topic. The material and methods, how the study was carried out, what is the sample size, what is the place, what are all the inclusion and exclusion criteria, what is the type of study. Is it a retrospective study or a prospective study? All these things must be informed in the material and method section. The results. So, what is the end result of your study? So, you have to include the statistical strength of your study, like p-value and ROC curve. In the discussion, what does it mean? How does it relate to the previous findings? Is your study is unique? All these things have to be discussed in the discussion part. All the positive findings must be summarized in the conclusion, and you have to put a proper reference as per the journal requirement. So this is the construct and you have to act according to the construct. So after doing everything, choose the journal where you want to send your manuscript and stick to the guidelines mentioned in the respective journal. Then it will increase the chance of acceptance of your research in the journal. The important thing that will impede the research and publication is failure to clearly explain the material and methods. Porul, Karuvi, Kalam, Vinayodona Aindum, Iril Tira Enni Chayal. So you have to explain properly in the material and methods. The material methods, be clear about your material methods. Include all the full descriptions of the methods and materials used in your research. It should be in a way that others can replicate your research. That's very, very important to give clarity to your material methods so that others will replicate. The sample size. The sample size is the real strength for your research paper. The sample size will compromise, if the sample size is small, that will compromise the credibility of the paper. Compared to the Western countries, our population in India is a strength and we can do a research on a good sample size. That is the advantage in our country. Inclusion and exclusion criteria. Be specific with inclusion and exclusion criteria of your research paper. If the inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria are not specific and precious, it will increase the chances of rejection of your manuscript. Failure to carefully examine prior research and review of literature. This is very, very important. So, all the research begins with an idea or a question. It is important to explore the idea in terms of what has been done till date. Hence, review of literature is a crucial part of a research article. It helps the reader to understand the state of the art of your idea or the research. Most common issues with the literature review will be too vague. When too vague, the reviewer will be confused with your manuscript. So that will impede your research and increases the rejection rate. So not able to include enough detail about your present research and comparing with the similar studies in your country and other parts of the world, since everything is available in the digital world. For example, we may only briefly explain the key trends in our research and refer to a group of papers. Literature review is important to compare your research with other studies that is done all over the globe. So the tip here is select only the key papers. Research your topic related articles you have to involve in your manuscript. Read the entire article, come to a conclusion, use it as a reference article. When selecting and reviewing a literature, focus on the main question and aim of your research with relevant scientific paper. Reading only the abstract and using it as a reference will misguide you, and your manuscript will be simply rejected. Read the discussion section of the similar paper. Explore all supportive and contradictory ideas around the research aim. So never ever confuse the reviewers. So when the logical flow of information is absent, the manuscript from the introduction till conclusion must give clarity to the reviewers about your research. Otherwise, the reviewer will be confused and that increases the rejection rate. Information not relevant to the research must be avoided. Multiple research ideas in the same paper will confuse the reviewer because your idea is the manuscript is the only thing that is going to give information about your research. You are not going to talk with him directly with the reviewer, unfortunately. So your manuscript must have a clarity. When there are multiple research ideas, definitely any human being will be confused, including the reviewer. Hence, it increases the rejection rate. So what is the tip? So use the relevant research articles. Support the arguments and ideas of your research. Read the literature thoroughly to know the relevant counter-argument about your research. Never use the outdated sources. So update the literature review. That is very, very important. Focus should be on the sources in the last 2 to 3 years because we are living in the scientific world. The ideas, everything is changing. So change only is the only thing that is constant in the world. So you have to update. So there are some exceptions always. If one refers to a concept that was introduced much earlier and not discussed since then you have to use it. If one wants to refer to the origin of a specific idea, then you have to use the article. Failure to do statistical analysis. So the result must be strengthened only by the statistical analysis. So you have to analyze. So this statistical analysis, if you are not going to do, that simply will increases the rejection rate. The significance of the study will be reflected only by the statistical analysis. So you have to quote whether it is a cross-sectional or a retrospective or prospective. Based on the study, appropriate statistical tests have to be used. Adequate sample size is important to decrease the p-value. That is the hints I want to tell you. So use proper statistician software to create an appropriate methodology so that their statistical analysis will be complete. Failure to present the results with clarity. So results is the heart of your study. The result must impress the reviewer. To impress the reviewer, a proper statistical analysis is important. So that is the significance of the statistical analysis. So think outside the box when analyzing and visualizing the data to provide the results. Thoroughly analyze your data and present the implication of your research. Refer back to the data, ideas from the literature review. Be clear about the outcome and the results. So that is very important. The seventh mistake is failure to present the discussion with clarity. So you have to give clarity in the discussion part. Discussion should contain the idea behind the research discussion about the review of literature and what you have done so far. Comparison of the previous research papers with your current research paper should be added. This is very, very important. So, in the discussion part, be brief about all points, stick to the matter and discussion and don't be vague. Don't deviate from the topic. Use the simple English so that everybody, including the reviewer, will understand. The eighth mistake will be a failure to check plagiarism. Today, there are so many plagiarism softwares are available. So you have to use every publisher, every journal is having its own. And the percentage differs from one another. So what is plagiarism? The practice of using another person's idea or work and pretending that it is your own is called plagiarism. It reflects the lack of academic transparency in your manuscript. The reviewer will treat plagiarism as an attempt of unethical behavior by the author. So that your manuscript will be simply rejected. If you avoid plagiarism, then the chances of acceptance will be always high. What is called self-plagiarism? Recycling or reusing one's own previous work without citation or acknowledgement. Again is also, it may be your own work, but it has to be acknowledged or cited. When you are not doing it, then it is called self-plagiarism. Why does plagiarism arise? Using others' publication as your own research by cut and paste technique without giving due credit to the authors. So, how to overcome this? Avoid cut and paste in your research, which will increase the rejection rate. Cite the publications relevant to your scientific paper in the manuscript. How to overcome again? Plagiarism. Check the plagiarism in the software. When you take the MGR Medical University, the plagiarism software is very well available for the postgraduates who are going to submit their thesis. So up to 25% plagiarism is acceptable to some journals. It varies from journal to journal. So this is the link in the Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University. Failure to deliver the conclusion properly is the commonly mistake. The conclusion is one of the most commonly read part of the research article as it provides the gist of the paper. So the conclusion will give everything you are narrating within few sentences. That is called conclusion. So all your research will be put into few sentences, which gives an impression to the reviewer. So when it is vague, when the conclusion part is vague or improper, then the chances of rejection of your paper will be more. So what is the tip? Conclusion must reflect the extract of your research. It is nothing but the essence of your research is the conclusion. So be precise. Never include new data in the conclusion section which is not addressed in the result or discussion. Too long conclusion section must be avoided. The 10th mistake is the improper or no citation. Citation is an important aspect of a research article. Each journal have a format to be adopted in the reference section. Following the guidelines of the journal will solve this issue very easily. So this is in medicine. We use commonly Vancouver type of citation. This is the example for Vancouver type of citation. So when you are submitting the manuscript, follow the journal's guidelines in the reference so that your manuscript will be accepted. Today, we are living in the digital world. In the olden days, when they are going for the Gurukulam, for the academic activities, then there is a role for Guru. Even now in the digital world, writing a research article, you need a Guru. Because writing research article in the main way to share your research and experience in the scientific community, if your Guru knows about how to publish a paper, then it is very easy for you to understand how to publish a manuscript easily. So that the Guru is imbibing his knowledge to his disciples. So with the proper guidance, one can enhance the research skill with the time and effort so that the knowledge of the Guru is disseminated to his students. When you take orthopedics in South India, the person involved in orthopedic publication in Tamil Nadu is none other than Professor T.K. Shanmugasundaram used to say, publish or perish. And he is the person behind a lot of journals published on skeletal tuberculosis, an authority in South India, like Julie. Professor T.K. Shanmugasundaram had two wonderful students. One was Professor Mailvahanan Natarajan, the former Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu, Dr. MGR University, and an authority in musculoskeletal oncology. Another person is Dr. S. Rajshekharan of Ganga Hospital, a person who published many papers, and he is cited in the top 1% of world scientists contributing to orthopedic surgery, a pride to Tamil Nadu. So, in a nutshell, an advice for the younger friends, or the sincerity, dedication and commitment in the research work is important to publish your research paper in reputed journals. So have a clear idea. Your ideas will be converted into manuscript by reading the research article, step 1. Number 2 will be plan your research. Step 3 will be executing your research. Step 4 will be doing a statistical analysis. Step 5 will be writing the manuscript in chronological order. And if at all, if your manuscript is rejected, don't bother about it. Go through the reviewer's comment and act accordingly, and then send it to a suitable journal and it will be accepted. And I want to tell you the important thing. Once there is your manuscript is rejected, don't worry. In Tamil they say, Ukkamadu kaividal. Your strength, vidamuyarchi, perseverance is the goal to achieve the success behind your manuscript converted into a publication. Thank you for your patient hearing.